It's crazy. I mean, I've printed the same album through consoles all around town, and they're 100% of the time I've ended up printing it through this console. When I first moved into this room, I was working on, actually the Alabama Shakes record was one of the first ones I'd already started working on it in other studios, the mixing. And then I think it might have been the first record that I printed in here. And I kind of was like, just the whole time I was mixing it, I didn't know what I was like, what am I doing? What does this sound like? I couldn't tell. And then it literally felt like once I put it through that console, it just like locked. And I felt like there was kind of like there was an aha moment where it just kind of like took on this 3D thing, and I thought, what sorcery did I just buy?
One surprising moment with API was in the days of working with Frank Zappa, one thing we would do is go and record all his live shows. And every year he'd do Halloween at the Palladium Theater in New York. So we'd record for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days with setup and recording rehearsals. And Frank just told me, book the record plant truck, Dave Hewitt's truck, it's great. Dave's a great guy. You'll love the experience. We booked the truck. I got there, walked in, and there's this little API. I can't remember, maybe it was 32 or 40 inputs. But the crazy thing was that it had graphic EQs, 560 graphic EQs on every channel. And I was 21 years old at the time and never worked on anything like that. And I just remember starting to get sounds with the band during rehearsal and initially being a little intimidated by it and not quite knowing what to do, but remember popping them in on drums and getting kick drum sounds and snare sounds going, wow, these are pretty aggressive. This is pretty great. And the top end was really open and sweet, and yeah, it was very, very eye-opening. It was, and the recordings went great, and we went back there every year for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
I worked for the audio company, and we had damn 1073s out the wazoo, and I used to take them in my house across the street and stack them up and do drums all day long. You know what I mean? Yeah. All good. And it was, you could put whatever up wherever you want. It sounded good. Such as, like I was saying, the EQs and stuff right here, man. But it's different. I don't know. It's like, for me, it's like a humbucker and a single coil. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is like a badass single coil. More, this is a P90 where it's like still fat, but it's like, you know, got teeth. And the other flavor that we spoke of, the N-word, whatever, was, you know, a humbucker. It's a big fat color and crayon. This right here is more like just like a mean, you know, like an ice pick almost, but like not like harsh. You know what I mean? It's not harsh.
When I was, I don't want to say how old I was. When I was very young, that part's correct, I heard Breakfast in America. I remember the Logical song being like an absolute massive hit in England and probably the whole of Europe and the whole of the world. And when I finally, in the mid-late 90s, got to work in America on that very same console, it was, well, you know, look, how focused can you get in on my hair's standing on end? I remember that. You can't reproduce those moments. You know, the first time you get to hear something and just knowing that you're working on it. This room is a great example of this. Studio One is a great example of it at Sunset Sound. There's a reason why these rooms still exist, is because producers and engineers like myself and all of you bring clients to these rooms so they can get inspired. They walk in here and go, wow, I love this record X, Y, and Z that was recorded here in this room. And it's not just that. This beautiful studio here maintains their equipment for 40 plus years. This console's been sitting in here. So yes, the Breakfast in America console, the API at Echo Park Studios was a pretty massive aha moment for me.
There was, I shared a studio with an engineer who had borrowed the guitarist Dave Bryson from the Counting Crows, his like vintage API rack. So I had that in my studio for like a year. And I didn't like it. Like I would plug stuff into it, it was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. And then like a year later, one of the other engineers at my studio got 512 in, and I needed an extra mic pre, and I plugged into that, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa, like what was that? Like I hadn't heard that sound in a while because I hadn't had API in a long time. And yeah, and ever since then it was like, I think I was recording electric guitar, and it just sounded perfect. And I was like, that's, since then that's been my guitar sound forever. And it just, you know, whatever, jazz, rock, you name it.
Basically, my entire growth period with the box was that. I've had my box since, I think, 3 months after they were being sold by API. And when I first got it, it was a really cool summing amp with a master section. And then a month after that, it became a summing amp that I could also use completely like a console in the outboard section. And as that progressed, I learned ways to run my patch bass so that I could even stretch it further. And now I'm in this place with the box where I truly don't know what you can't do with it, provided that you've got the patch bay and connections to do it. This is probably not something a person should say on an API video, but if you've got pre's, I suggest a box over a 1608.
And that's making it
I'm just, because it is so good. It is so good. It is that good of a piece of gear.